Welcome everyone to the Platform Podcast. Today we have a very special episode. Usually we get college coaches and athletes with us, but today, for the first time, we've actually got a parent joining us. Terrence, thank you so much for being here, man.
Absolute pleasure.
I mean, even though we're in your office, thanks for having us. But to those that are listening to this, just to give you guys a bit of a context around our relationship, I had the pleasure of meeting Terrence back in 2018 in Wellington. We had a coffee on Cuba Street. I vividly remember that. A good friend of mine, Chris Zorachich, who's a well-established coach. He was here in New Zealand. Now he's over in Australia. Introduced us. And your son, Ronan Wynne, was a very elite soccer athlete back in the teenage days. And I believe you guys Ronan just moved to Wellington and was studying at Wellington College at the time.
That's correct.
And he was with the Phoenix Academy, and
that's correct.
You guys kind of expressed your interest in going to the States, and 6 years later, here we are. It's been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, in terms of Ronan, tell us a little bit about him. What got him into, I'm going to call it soccer. I know a lot of people listening to this would say it's football, but what got Ronan into soccer right away? How did it start in the family?
Look, I think from our perspective, soccer has always been alive, or football has always been alive in our family. But I would also say that sport has been alive in our family. So Ronan, as an example, has played many a sport, and he won't want me saying this, but he even did dancing at a stage. I think it helped him with his footwork. But he was an all-rounder with any sport, and I think we understood that whatever sport he chose to follow, whether it was basketball, which he loved, whether it was cricket, rugby, anything, he would be successful. I think we're having an older brother that was similar to Ronan in that he participated in many, many sports. But his absolute passion at the end of the day was soccer, football. Ronan opted to not really follow his brother, but it also became an absolute passion for him. And that's how he ended up playing soccer. And at any stage in young kids' lives, there is a time that comes where they've got to make a choice. And the choice was soccer.
Yeah, how good. I mean, the sports definitely worked out for him. He's competing at University of Denver. He's an incredible athlete. And for those that don't know Ronan, he hasn't just exceeded in the college system. He's in his third year at university, but hasn't just exceeded in the soccer team. He's also earned all academic honours in the Summit League as well. But his soccer accolades, I mean, I was reading it on the website earlier today. It's just stacking up, isn't it? He's been the defender of the conference, the first conference team. He was the defender out of all D1 schools in the entire country in the starting lineup where they picked the best defender. And he's had one heck of a season. And I'm very fortunate to know the coaches at University of Denver well, especially Brad Franks, who I've known him before he started at University of Denver. And those guys absolutely love him. I think they would happily say they would like him for another 4 more years.
I would agree.
Yeah, no, they're doing well. And, I mean, sport runs in your family. Your eldest son, Declan Wynne, he's currently in the US playing professionally, but had a good run in the All Whites too, right? Yeah,
I mean, Declan left home when he was 19. He was recruited into Canada, into the Whitecaps. In the USL team, or Whitecaps 2 as they called it in those days. And so he's played through a couple of clubs in the MLS, and for the last number of years he's been in the USL League. He's been involved with the All Whites for on numerous occasions, and I think he's got 16 caps to date. And in fact, just recently moved to Charleston Battery, which is a new club for him, again competing in the USL League.
That's awesome. I mean, your elder son Declan did very well as a young athlete, going from strength to strength, from the Whitecaps into the All Whites, and I know he played in some MLS teams, as you mentioned before. So sitting there when Ronan is 16 years old, what sort of made you think about the American college system?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we knew that Ronan would inevitably study at some point in his life, but at the same time, alongside that, he would participate in sport at a reasonably good level, or a good level. And the attraction was certainly from a USA perspective, going into a college where he could do exactly what I've just mentioned, that is study, but at the same time play or participate in his passion, which was soccer.
Yeah.
And, engaging with a company like yourselves, platform, and speaking to a couple of other parents and also student athletes that had been in the USA college system, only really got positive feedback. And obviously with the guidance of yourself in particular, we thought it was really a good option for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely played into his hands real nicely in the States. I mean, his work ethic is second to none. What I like about Ronan, though, is that he doesn't really have too much noise in his head. He doesn't overthink. He just goes there and just works hard, whatever he does.
Yeah.
And Ronan actually owes me a coffee because I've been in one of his assignments, actually. He interviewed me in one of his film classes a few years ago. So, Ronan, you owe me a coffee for that. I want to see that footage as well. But he's done great over there. Now, you and Joanne, your wife, you guys have gone to the States on a couple of occasions, and you actually went to go visit University of Denver. Yeah. You've been in some pretty amazing sports facilities outside of America, with your older son being involved in some fantastic teams and setups, and also Ronan with the Phoenix. I mean, what was Denver like?
Well, yeah, I think we visited the University of Denver last year, and hopefully we'll go back to Denver this year. I think I can only use one term when we walked into the University of Denver, but in particular their sporting facility. We were absolutely blown away. I've been into numerous venues, particularly in New Zealand, sporting venues, and having a look at facilities. There's nothing that prepared me for what we saw at the University of Denver. Ronan took us on a tour the first day we were there, just going through the sporting facility, particularly where he's involved. Things like obviously the fields, simple things like their change rooms, their gym facilities, and so forth. And it is just way beyond what we thought he would be exposed to.
That's incredible. I mean, what kind of resources do they have there for Ronan, apart from obviously the locker room? Do they have any ice baths and that sort of thing set up? And
yeah, they have a gym which is literally under the ice hockey stand, a stand as such. And in the gym, they have medical personnel. There's sports scientists that are involved with them. There are numerous coaches. I don't think I've seen as many support staff for one team as I experienced and saw there. For example, Ronan has recently just had a bit of laryngitis and so forth. There's a doctor that's involved with him, so he's easily exposed to them and can get advice and whatever medication he requires. It's incredible. I've never experienced anything like that anywhere outside of what I experienced in Denver.
I mean, you had your child in the college system during a pandemic. COVID was brutal, and we're over here in New Zealand, and your son's all the way on the other side of the world. What was the support like for Ronan when he got COVID over there?
A lot of support. Obviously, like everybody else, he had to sit in his room on his own and so forth. But there was continuous contact with the coaches, even if it was just by telephonic means and so forth. We never really worried. We obviously made contact with him as well on a very regular basis. But there was total support, and everybody works together anyway, from team members, from the staff, and so forth. So we really didn't worry.
Honestly speaking, at the start of this process, right, you're hearing about the college system through myself, and the more you talk to coaches in the States, you're learning more and more about the college system. Looking at it now, did you ever think that there'll be this many athletes going professional from the college system, like back in 2018? Has it surprised you how many athletes are going pro?
It has surprised me, Case in point is just recently one of the players that Ronan was playing with has just been signed up with one of the USL teams, and there are numerous others that again Ronan has been exposed to, and they've all been signed up, so forth. But in saying that, It's not easy. It's because the guys really work hard at achieving a professional contract. So again, it's a message that we give to Ronan all the time. It's all the work that you're doing in now where you'll reap the benefit at a later stage. But yeah, back to your question. Yeah, there are a lot of athletes, student athletes coming out of the college system that have the opportunity.
And obviously Declan talking to a lot of MLS clubs. Is the paycheck getting higher and higher each year for players?
Yeah, I certainly believe so.
It's growing quite quickly, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, even some of the college students that move out in various sports. I mean, obviously Ronan's exposed to what they earn as such, and some of the numbers of absolutely, I wouldn't say surprised, they shocked me.
Yeah. No, I bet. Let's talk about the academic support. Athletically, they get all of the sports scientists to help them out, physios to help them out. But traveling on the road must be really challenging for Ronan, being a full-time sports athlete. What's it like academically? What kind of academic support do they get at University of Denver?
Again, because they're student athletes, it is fully understood by their tutors that they're on the road as such. But again, the responsibility is on the student to deliver, whatever they need to deliver to the tutors, whether they're on the road or not. And in Ronan's case, I can't speak for other students, but in Ronan's case, he delivers. If they do have a bit of a tough time with the understanding of what is actually expected for them, again, their tutors there's access to them at any given stage. And I know Ronan hasn't had to engage too often, but there have been cases or stages where he needs to engage with a tutor. Again, they're available, and it's really assisted him.
Ronan went a little bit earlier than expected, right? He started college right away.
Yeah.
And I mean, from a family's perspective, how did you prepare Ronan for that big jump, or was it just let's just go with it and see what happens?
Yeah, I think Ronan is definitely a very mature young man, and very responsible. So we didn't have any major challenges or major worries. I speak for myself. Jane might have had some worries as a mother, but I knew that whatever he tackled, he would do successfully, and the proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely,
we see it now.
Yeah, no, he's doing fantastic.
And I think just going back, one has to also consider that from Ronan's perspective, he had an opportunity at the Phoenix Academy. What it meant is he had to give up all his friends, give up he was in high school, he had to relocate, and so forth. And I think in a sense that almost prepared him for again relocating after he had finished school to the US to start at college. No,
that's completely right. That's something that we didn't even touch on when I was doing the intro on Ronan, because he did start high school in Auckland.
Yes.
He's from here, and then it was a senior year, right?
Yeah.
You moved them down to Wellington.
Yeah, well, he got the opportunity at the Phoenix Academy. They asked if he could move down there, and as a family we obviously had many a discussion, and funny enough, Joanne decided to relocate with him.
Yeah.
And just to ensure that it was his final couple of years in high school, and he relocated down there, and he did really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, I know that Ronan is really appreciative of what you guys did for him, because I mean, moving cities is very challenging, especially when you're going through high school and you're leaving all your mates and your teammates at different clubs and that sort of thing. And I remember you kept on commuting back and forth from Auckland to Wellington. I wonder how many flights you took.
Oh, I'd love to know, but I think what we agreed to was that I would try to get down there every second weekend, and because I've an absolute passion for soccer or football, it was good for me anyway, because I was going to go watch Ronan, play.
Awesome.
So I try to get down there as often as was possible.
Yeah. I remember, I'm going to stitch Ronan up here a bit. I remember you flew down for a game once and then you got red carded.
Yeah. That was at the Cake Tin, in fact.
Yeah, it was a rubbish red card, by the way. It was it was such a stitch up, but
but I mean, you know, it happens. It's part of the sport. It happens in sport and so forth. And there was no concern with that.
No, that was such a bad call from the referee. I remember I was watching it in New Plymouth at the time on Sky TV.
That's right.
And I texted Chris Zoritich right away. I'm like, did you just see that? And he goes, I can't believe they just called that as a red card. It was absolutely ludicrous. But, I mean, what was great about the move for Ronan going to Wellington and how it helped him with his college, option, which we'll get into in a second, was the amount of stats that the Phoenix recorded on Ronan.
Yeah.
The top speeds he was running up the wing. I mean, that turned so many heads in the college system. You had Portland snipping at Ronan's heels. You had Akron snipping at Ronan's heels. I mean, Syracuse were talking to us, Wake Forest. And then, obviously, ultimately deciding University of Denver. It must have been fantastic from a parent's perspective to see those great stats on Ronan.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, I can only think that a college coach would want to, there's this kid that is miles and miles away. They can't actually watch them bar some video footage as such. So if you can deliver stats, which Ronan fortunately via the Phoenix had access to, that tells a story in itself. And I mean, sharing that with the college coaches, that they were obviously impressed with some of the stats, and obviously assisted his scholarship as such. Yeah,
absolutely. It definitely helped. I mean, I can't remember what his time was. I think it was 32 kilometers or 33 kilometers per hour.
Oh, I think it was around about there.
Yeah, boosting up the wing.
Yeah.
And coaches were like, we want that guy. It definitely helped.
Yes.
It made our job very easy.
Yeah. And I think also the fact that he was versatile. I always had the philosophy that if a coach says to you, I need you to play in the goals, Ronan wouldn't like it, but you take the opportunity, and I think that Ronan was really versatile, so he could inevitably play, and he did. He played right back, he could play left back, he could play centre back, left and right, he could play midfield, and I think if they put him up front, I think he would have scored goals. So he was versatile.
We've had a couple of athletes that only like playing one position.
No.
Sometimes they're like, no, I don't want to play in that position. And when they go to college in the States, they'd call me and they'll say, coach is making me play in this particular position. I don't like it. But what I liked about Ronan, he took the opportunity, and even Paul Eiffel said the same thing to me. He said when he was trying to become a professional in the UK, any position that they said, can you play? He said, yeah, I can.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And Ronan did that. He's a right back, but he was playing like left back, centre back.
Yeah, he played centre back.
For a long time.
Back, and he's played left back, as I said.
This is his first year as his
favourite
position.
His preferred position is right back, and he's last year he did really well at the right back position.
I remember you texted me like, Ronan's going to be playing right back finally. Third year at college, he's playing right back, and he's going to cause havoc. And I just remember that.
Yes.
And then it's just like sports accolade, sports accolade. I'm like, you were 100% right.
Yeah,
Nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were going through the college selection process, I mean, obviously, as everyone knows, he signed with University of Denver. But what was the biggest thing that stood out for you? Why Denver? Why not Portland or Akron or anything like that?
Well, I think we, firstly, to be fair, we had travelled to Denver prior to that because Declan was involved with the Colorado Rapids.
That's right.
The MLS team. And so we understood a little about Denver. We also knew a couple of personnel that were, ex New Zealand, that were in Denver, and of course his brother was there, but that wasn't the biggest influence. The fact is that we had many a discussion via WhatsApp calls with a couple of the coaches, but in particular with Denver, and we liked the philosophy, what they were portraying to us via the WhatsApp calls that we made. And there was a desire from both parties' side to have Ronan there. So Ronan wanted to go there, but there was also desire from, the likes of Jamie, to be honest, to have Ronan there. And that's so important.
I mean, we've had a young man, Keegan Kelly, which I've told you about, that's going to be joining the University of Denver team next year in January, actually. So he would actually be there now when Ronan's there, which would be good. Ronan's last semester. And what I liked about Denver, they're the only college so far that have, in their recruitment process, said, watch our game coming up, tell us where we can improve and what we're doing wrong.
Yes.
And that's the first time I've ever heard a college coach do that. And I think that's such a smart way to recruit, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Yeah.
You know, and I've met Jamie, not telephonically, but when we were in Denver recently, and I just like his attitude. He also comes out of the professional environment, as does Brad, his brother, and I just like the passion that they have, the intensity of the training, every occasion, the responsibility that not only do they take, but they give to those players. So we just, we loved it. We loved what we saw.
I've seen a lot of the videos that the University of Denver men's soccer page on Instagram. I see a lot of videos that they post, and you see a lot of the time head coach Jamie talking about the character of an individual is equally as important as what they do on the field. It's such a good philosophy, don't you reckon?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, we were in a sense told off at a stage because it was pretty evident after a couple of calls with Jamie that the responsibility moves from the parent to the kid, to the young lad in this particular case. The responsibility is with him. So if there's any communication that we would like to have, he would often just say, "Let Ronan do it. Let Ronan do it," and we laid off. And that in itself is Jamie ensuring that the student athlete takes responsibility, communicates when he requires anything or he wants some information or he has some information to offer and so forth, and that the parents are, I wouldn't say totally taken out of the equation, but he's building the character. He's building the responsibility with the student athlete for the future, which I think is great. And right now, do we talk to Jamie? Well, no. If we want to know anything, we speak to Ronan. He tells us, which is really good.
Did you see a change in Ronan?
Yeah, we've seen a big change in Ronan. Not only physically but mentally. So physically, Ronan has just got strong, really strong. We can't believe how strong he's got, and he hasn't lost his speed. So his speed is still there, but he's just got really strong. And I think from a mental perspective, also exceptionally strong. We've seen him become responsible. We've actually seen him. He was a very mature young lad, as I said, but I think he's matured. His maturity has increased. So we've seen some. I would go as far as to say some seriously dramatic changes.
Yeah.
He's a responsible young man.
I haven't seen him since the last time we had that coffee out at Smells Farm when he came back. I think that must have been nearly a couple of years ago now, a year and a half. So I'm excited to see him next time he comes back. And I mean, did you think that not just his physicality but his game would improve this month?
I think with what if you had to ask that same question to Ronan, he would certainly tell you that he understands the game way better than he's ever understood the game.
Wow.
And that's simply based on what he's exposed to and the let's call it the lessons that he receives, not only on the field, but in their locker room, and in their, I don't know, what's a briefing room, whatever they call it. They get educated on the game and educated on tactics and so forth. So again, you ask him, he would say he's learned so much more about the game.
You know, it's crazy. You're telling me that you've seen Ronan in the best shape possible, but then yet there's guys like the coaches at Denver saying we still want him to get so much more fit. And I'm like, where's the ceiling? What are the coaches' expectations? It must be so high, which is obviously a great thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the expectation's got to be high, and the expectation of Ronan, I honestly believe, is exceptionally high. And do I think he's going to achieve it? The answer is simply yes.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm excited because there's a big spotlight on you when you're in the college system and in a good environment like University of Denver. The coaches are connected, obviously, with top USL and MLS coaches in the States. And when you see like a great track record of athletes going into the professional system, it's such a great thing. And I'm a true believer that you are a product of your own environment, whether it's you're a sports athlete or you want to be successful in business or something. If you're hanging around the right environment, it's just going to lift your level up. And Ronan's in that environment, and it's quite cool as well that he gets to rub shoulders with a lot of MLS players like the Rapids too.
Yes.
Yeah, because you guys have been to those facilities, obviously, quite a few times.
We've been to those facilities, also really good facilities. And in fact, they've got a game coming up against the Rapids too shortly. I think it's in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Wow.
So again, he's been exposed to,
I'm guessing a couple of scouts who watching that.
And he was also fortunate enough to go to Inter Miami. He spent a bit of time there. And
is that Beckham's team?
Yeah, Beckham's team, yeah. And
that's crazy.
And he also went to, I think it was Philadelphia, I'm not entirely sure.
Yep.
He went to their academy as well. So he was exposed to that, which was really, really good. I think that firstly, and I'll use obviously ourselves as an example, we didn't really understand the college system. So engage with a good company, we engage with Platform. Because you understand it. You spoke us through on numerous occasions. I'm not the brightest, so I had to hear this from you on a regular basis.
I love talking to you, man. Trust me.
So, and you have a good understanding, so you can basically expose the parents and the student, potential student athlete, to what they will experience. Be open-minded in terms of the opportunities that are available in the States. Be realistic about those opportunities, and you know your child best. They're either going to thrive, sink or swim. And I think from our perspective, we knew Ronan would be successful, so we were comfortable in letting him go. But in saying that, it's not easy, because he's moving to the other side of the world as such, and keep in contact with the student athlete. We try to catch up with Ronan at least every 2 weeks, but in many cases once a week, and let him tell you what he's doing. Don't pound him with continuous questions. He'll tell you what's happening, and if he needs anything from you, even if it's just the word of support, he'll give it to you.
I got one final question, and I think this is quite an important one. Sometimes we work with student athletes where they're demanding game time in college. They want to go to a college where they can play right away, and if they're in the States and they don't get to play right away after the first 3 or 4 games, they get quite unhappy. I know Ronan's really resilient, and that's something that probably you've taught them. What advice could you give kids around that?
Well, I'll answer it in 2 parts. So for Ronan, he was fortunate, but I would say he earned it. He went in and he played straight away, right? And the second part, based on your question, was no athlete has the right to play. You earn the right to play. So you've got to go and show the coaches that you earn that spot. That's it. It's your work, the work that you put into to actually play.
And staying persistent, right? And learning to take a few knocks on the chin.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen, right? I bet like Ronan's been, he's probably done something right in a game or something and got told what he needs to improve on, and taking that and going forward is equally as important. Yeah,
I think Ronan last year sometime said to us that, and he was quite open about it. He just said, I got roasted. He said on the field in front of all my mates because I didn't do X, Y, Z. So I said, and what was your approach thereafter? And he said, well, I took it on the chin. Asked for a little bit of advice based on the roasting that I got, and made sure I didn't do it again.
Look at him now.
Yep.
Look at him now. Some people could tank it and just like walk the other way.
Yes.
And others run it straight ahead. Like the reason why I wanted to talk to you on here as well is because a lot of people think going to college is easy. No. But it's not, right? It's
no,
not
I mean, again, we see what Ronan has to go through. It's the training, how he has had to adapt his life. So a small little thing that he does, he tries to take a regular nap You know, he says, because he knows exactly how much sleep he requires on a daily basis, and nightly basis. So he ensures that he's eating right, he's ensuring that he's sleeping right, he's ensuring that his academics are up to the standard required, that he's the sport that he's participating is at a certain level. He just maintains that, and it's all the work that he's putting in. It's not easy at all. It's not, and I guess it's not for everybody.
Well, that's the thing. Like, college isn't for everyone. I mean, Declan didn't go to the States on a soccer scholarship, right?
But in saying that, if you were to ask Declan today, I'm almost sure that he'll say, and he has said, I would love to have gone through the college system.
Yeah, I was talking to my brother about that actually, because there's a couple of boys that he played tennis with growing up that have done very well, and that went to college and now on the pro tour, but they didn't pay anything when they were in college. And my brother looks back and goes, actually, I wouldn't have mind of giving like the college system a crack. I mean, look, the reason for bringing people on like yourself on this podcast is just to put a spotlight on the college system about it, because I don't want people thinking that it is easy and then going over to the States and then getting a bit of a shock when you know their bodies are sore, they're tired, they've got academic stress. But it's also important for them to know that when they do face those challenges, that there are support systems put in place for them to help manage that.
And I think it's also, there's a lot of time management that goes on, and particularly when these student athletes are on the road. You know, they've when they're on the road, that doesn't mean that they don't deliver, you know, the academic part. They've got to do that, so they've got to make time. You know, Ronan gave us an example recently where he was on a bus. This was not too long ago, on the bus, and he had to do some research and he was doing research on his phone while he was traveling to the hotel. This is what they're exposed to, and they have to do to ensure that they're delivering. So, you know, it's it's great playing the sport, but the academic side, you've got to have a certain level and deliver that level on a regular basis. Otherwise, the program has a look at you and says, well, that's great, you're a great sports person, an athlete, but what about the academic side? So don't expose yourself. Deliver on both aspects.
I keep saying last thing because it keeps popping in my head, but one more thing. You've watched Ronan play against another college in the States. You've also watched him here in New Zealand. What is the atmosphere like in the US?
Look, it's crazy. I think, again, started with the sporting facilities. You know, the sporting facilities they're exposed to, traveling to these other teams, either stadiums or fields, the sporting facilities are great, and the crowds they attract are phenomenal. You know, possibly not as like American football crowds, but they're still exposed to like reasonably good crowds, and it's intensive. It's really
they're pretty
intensive.
Passionate over there, aren't
passionate.
they? Yeah. Awesome. Now, Terrence, thank you so much for being on here today. I know this is going to help a lot of students and a lot of parents tremendously. And I'm excited to see what's in store for Ronan, your boy. I think he's done fantastic over there. And he's a great example of what a student athlete should be. His academics are good on the dean's list, academic honours roll, and he's crushing it in his sport. I mean, what more could you want? So
yeah, we can't ask for more.
Exactly. He's maybe some more merch from
yes.
Ronan. Get me some merch, man. But no, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
And if you're watching this or listening to this, make sure you check out the University of Denver men's soccer page. I think it's a great place to go and play competitive soccer. Go see what they're about. Go on YouTube, check out their facilities, but definitely follow them on Insta. And shout out to the Frank brothers, the coaches there. They're awesome. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.